Welcome back to Rising. We have the lovely Ameshia Cross joining us in studio as well. It's a packed day here at Rising. Good to see you, Ameshia.
Glad to be here. I was going to say I get introed as lovely today. I feel like, things are changing up.
We could intro you as lovely every day as well. All right, Batya, what's going on at the moment?
Well, Twitter has reportedly suspended the ability to get verified due to impersonation issues.
Plus, a note was reportedly sent to the Twitter staff by the legal leader on its privacy team, part of which read, quote, "Over the last 2 weeks, Elon has shown that he cares only about recouping the losses he's incurring as a result of his failing to get out of his binding obligation to buy Twitter. He chose to enter into that agreement. Elon has shown his only priority with Twitter users is how to monetize them. I have heard Alex Spiro, the current head of legal, say Elon is willing to rake in a huge amount of risk in relation to this company because Elon puts rockets into space. He's not afraid of the FTC." End quote. That message suggested that Musk is at risk of putting Twitter in violation of its FTC consent decree, Alex Heath, editor at The Verge, stated.
Musk responded to all of the media coverage he's been receiving, saying, quote, in a since-deleted tweet, Twitter owner Elon Musk wrote, "The awesome irony of the situation is that the media writing about Twitter and me failing nonstop is driving massive growth in Twitter."
So, it's been a lot of Elon stuff over the weekend. Every day there's more. So I'm worried now this whole thing from his perspective is based on a totally faulty premise, because he had tweeted that that Twitter drives massive traffic to other sites. It's this great referrer of other. He said he's claiming it was the biggest referrer of traffic to other sites. That's not true. Right. It seems like it to those of us in the media. It seems like it's this big, important site. It's important because the media is all there, policy people are there, but it actually doesn't drive a huge amount of traffic to other sites. The website he is thinking of is Facebook. That's not the one he bought. He bought Twitter. So I wonder if this whole thing is like, if he just made that basic error or something.
No, I think that he, in some ways, is Trump-esque. He likes to self-aggrandize, and he likes to make things sound bigger than they actually are. So he reported saying that things were great and more people were following. He didn't actually report any numbers of a growth in followers at all. That's an important thing to note here. In addition to, quite frankly, I don't think that the outflux of people, and we've talked about this before, Batya, the outflux of people has happened. Just folks deleting their Twitter and going away. We've heard from maybe 6 or so celebrities who blatantly said they were leaving. But for the most part, people are still,
they'll be back. Yeah,
nobody's really worried about that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we talked about this before, but Elon Musk is a billionaire. Everybody he knows are other billionaires, right? Other people in the elite of the elite, famous people. That's who he spends his time with, people who are super into Twitter, because as we know, Twitter is a platform for elites to police other elites, right? To make news for other elites with other elites. It has no normie potential, and because he doesn't know any normal people, this was totally lost on him. He thought, well, I love being on Twitter. I love going crazy on Twitter. I love getting all this negative attention, and then, changing the stock market and changing the stocks of my companies by tweeting things like, that's great. That makes me get, this big high. Surely every person would want that. And of course, every person doesn't want that, right? That's where we go in, in the media elites, in the political elites, people like him. But that is not an experience that average people are willing to buy into.
Well, I will say, though, he has me on his side again a little bit in this dispute he had with Senator Ed Markey, who was complaining on Twitter that someone was I think a Washington Post reporter deliberately tried to make a Markey account to see if he could get away with it and get it verified, and he did. This whole verification thing is a disaster so far. But then he was complaining about that on Twitter, suggesting exactly what I was kind of getting at in that read I have, that there's going to be some kind of investigation or some kind of government action. And I don't really particularly care for Elon's response to this, but would this not again be an example of government censorship or something if they're going to investigate him for having some kind of policy they don't like?
Right. I mean, I don't think that they should, I don't know, see the place for government intervention here, but his sort of immature joshing around and trying to own a senator on Twitter. It's exactly what you said last week, Robby. He's trying to both be the moderator and be a player, and you can't have it both ways. If you want to be a Twitter troll, you can't literally own the platform, right? And then spend all your time on it trolling. What do you think of me?
There's no separatism here. I think you're exactly right on that. He was known to kind of be a troll before he took over, and I don't think that he's willing to let that go at all. I think he's absolutely fine trolling. He wants to continue doing it. There is something to be said, to your point, Robby. it is very frustrating to see what happened with the blue verification, because companies back and forth are getting, copycats, essentially, shadow groups that are saying they are them. We saw it happen with Eli Lilly. We saw it happen with Pepsi. Pepsi endorsed Coke, which would never happen in the history of these beverage companies. It is frustrating, but it's also kind of funny to watch because everyone except Elon knew it was going to happen.
Right.
Well, President Biden's National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan responded to questions about Joe Biden, saying that Elon Musk's acquisition of Twitter is worthy of being looked at over national security concerns and how that would work. Let's watch that.
Well, you heard the president yesterday, and the CFIUS process is the normal process through which transactions that might have a national security nexus get reviewed, and I will defer to the CFIUS process rather than comment on it further from this podium.
Yeah, and I think we got to be very careful here, because the history of the national security intelligence community having questions about what's going on social media has come out really badly a lot of times, with Hunter Biden laptop, with what we're finding out from the Intercept reporting about how interested Homeland Security is about whether you can talk about COVID, et cetera. Like the government's interest in this has gone so far awry so many times, in my view. So it frightens me to hear them even saying that Twitter is on their radar. Get Twitter off your radar. Like, do something else with your time would be my response.
Well, so here's the problem is, I don't trust the Biden administration to get this right. Now, there is a national security concern here, which we've talked about a lot, which is Elon Musk's very close relationship with the Chinese Communist Party. I personally think that TikTok should be banned. I think it's one of the ways that China is trying to undermine us, not enough, undermine our elections, but just to undermine our society, which is why TikTok is banned in China, because they know that it is extremely corrosive. I've always said from the beginning, the big fear with Elon Musk owning Twitter is not that it's going to become like Gab or like Parler, where there's hate speech, but that it's going to become like WeChat, where it's controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, because Elon Musk is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, or if not controlled, maybe that word is too strong, but he is constantly bending the knee to them. He has never said no to them that I can see. He's built a showroom for Tesla in Xinjiang, which is where they're committing a genocide against the Uyghurs. So on the one hand, there is a real, I think, national security concern. On the other hand, I'm sure that what the Biden administration is referring to is not China, but that there will be opinions that they don't like that are now allowed to proliferate on Twitter. What say you?
No, I think that Elon Musk is puppeteered by the Chinese Communist Party. That is what it is. And it's largely because of his own business interests, because there's money to be made here. He's not thinking in a geopolitical policy fashion at all. The frustrating thing that I see, to your point about TikTok, is that we have millions of users on this thing now, and it shows no signs of stopping. It is steadily becoming the fastest growing social media juggernaut. It provides an endless amount of information for the Chinese Communist government, period. They are able to mine people's data. They're able to mine the friends' data, the things that are shared there. We've literally given it to them. And for a country that is so strict on surveillance, or individuals who don't want to be surveilled in any way by our own government, they seemingly have absolutely no problem with buying into surveillance of other governments.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think TikTok is a concern, and I'm concerned about, obviously Elon, being compromised, and because we have seen so many other. There's no successful right now a corporation that has stood up to the China issue in terms of censoring their content. How many times do they fold? Do they eliminate, if they're in a creative space, like storylines from movies and TV that are critical of China? That is happening increasingly. So I am worried about that. But the U.S. government just has such a bad track record at this point of getting involved in these issues. So I would would not expect the censorship sort of situation be improved by them looking very closely at this. All right, we'll have more Rising right after this. Stay with us.